Hey, Jules Blessed Vegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. Thanks for checking in with me, friends. When you don't hear from me, I really appreciate it. I said that I had hurt my hand, and it's really coming along, but there's still a lot of swelling and gunk going on here. But you know what? Just in terms of the overall bruising and stuff, I'm fairly pleased. I thank God that it wasn't worse. It was just a fluke. I literally was rolling one of our gates, and somehow my hand was suddenly in between. Luckily, I had on a glove. It certainly would have been worse, but it's still painful. Thank you for asking about my precious Freeway. Again, just a fluke. I woke up, he had a cut on the back of his head. It seemed very minor. All of a sudden, because of him scratching and things like that, it escalated very quickly. So he's on antibiotics. He likes getting treats for antibiotics. We're spraying it with the, antibiotic spray for him, and he has on the cone of shame. But he is precious and he's doing his best. We're all doing our best. That is straight up. All right, so I want to talk about intermittent fasting and what the science says about it. And if you intermittent fast, yeah. And I certainly was intermittent fasting, a couple years ago. But then I went into this whole rebellion thing, right? Because I was tired of being so hungry. I was tired of being limited. Like in any way, I just rebelled. And I'm wearing that rebellion. And it's okay, because the whole thing has just been a total learning curve for me. And that's okay. So while you can go up into my search for JVV, that's Jules Blessed Vegan, you can put in intermittent fasting and it'll tell you all the benefits of it. But I was curious. I wanted to counteract that and say, are there non-benefits? So this is from the New York Times, and it is called "Scientists Find No Benefit to Time-Restricted Eating." Now, I already know there's people on here saying, well, that's not true because it worked for me and I did it. And what about all those programs? And you can take a quiz and it'll tell you, if you should do 12 hours or 14 hours or 16. Like, come on, it's been proven. Calm down. It's okay. It's okay. We're just communicating here. I'm just sharing points of view. I'm not telling you what to do or not do. That is straight up. Okay, but I'm interested. So let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? If it's going to let me. I may be blocked. I hate being blocked. Yeah, collapse that. Okay, no, we're good to go. Good to go, my friends. Yay. Of course, the picture has milk. It has meat. It has eggs, bacon. Ugh, I'm so sorry. Okay, but let's get on with the facts. It says the new study is not the first to test time-restricted eating, but previous studies often were smaller, of shorter duration, and without control groups. That's what's so important about this one and impressive about it. Not to mention, it just came out in April of 2022. So it is hot off the press, and that matters. So it reads, the weight loss idea is quite appealing. Limit your eating to a period of 6 to 8 hours each day, during which you can have whatever you want. And people do say that. They're like, don't worry, you can still get your calories in. Just let it be in a certain window so that your body can restore itself, right? So studies in mice. I'm so sorry that they use animal studies when inevitably they have to turn around and test on humans anyway. Just start with the humans, right? So sorry for that. But studies in mice seem to support so-called time-restricting eating, a form of popular intermittent fasting diet. Small studies of people with obesity suggested it might help shed pounds. I can speak. Might help shed pounds. Say that 10 times. But now, a rigorous 1-year study, and there's a hyperlink for all the facts of it, in which people followed a low-calorie diet between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., or consumed the same number of calories anytime during the day, has failed to find an effect. And again, that's a hyperlink. Let's go back. in which people followed a low-calorie diet between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. So they're, excuse me, 8-hour window, or consumed the same number of calories anytime during the day, has failed to find an effect. The bottom line, said Dr. Ethan Weiss, a diet researcher at the University of California, San Francisco, there is no benefit to eating in a narrow window. The study, published on Wednesday in the New England Journal of Medicine, was led by researchers at Southern Medical University in Guangzhou, China, and included 139 people with obesity. Women ate 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day. Now, they said it's a low-calorie diet. And anytime people are put on a diet, it's generally like, 1,200 for women and 1,500 for men. And that's the diet amount, like automatically. And our bodies are designed to have more than that in general, just to run our bodies. But, okay, so 1,200 and 1,500 calories a day, and men consumed 1,500 to 1,800 calories. To ensure compliance, participants were required to photograph every bit of food they ate and to keep food diaries. Because, again, remember, they're trying to have consistency and monitor it. Both groups lost weight, an average of 14 to 18 pounds. But there was no significant difference in the amounts of weight lost with either diet strategy. There also were no significant differences between the groups in measure of waist circumference, body fat, and lean body mass. And remember, they decide that the waist circumference kind of indicates your risk for early death. Let's be straight up. Everything to do with heart problems and everything else. Okay, the scientists also found no difference in such risk factors as blood glucose levels, sensitivity to insulin, blood lipids, or blood pressure. And that's like a big claim with intermittent fasting. And it'll heal everything. It'll help your insulin levels because you're not eating throughout the day and spurting insulin, throughout your day. And there's so many claims, right? These results indicate that caloric intake restriction explained most of the beneficial effects seen with the time-restricted eating regimen, Dr. Weiss and his colleagues concluded. These results indicate that calorie intake restriction explained most of the beneficial effects seen with time-restricted eating regimen. Did I misread that? The scientists found no differences in such risk factors as blood glucose levels, sensitivity to insulin, blood lipids, or blood pressure. Okay, I'm confused. Okay, the new study is not the first to test time-restricted eating, but previous studies often were smaller, of shorter duration, and without control groups. That research tended to conclude that people lost weight by eating only during a limited period of time during the day. But again, it didn't prove to be true over time. Dr. Weiss himself used to be a true believer in time-restricted eating and said that for 7 years he had eaten only between noon and 8 p.m. In previous research, a hyperlink, he and his colleagues asked some of the 116 adult participants to eat 3 meals a day with snacks if they got hungry, and others were restricted to eat whatever they wanted between noon and 8 p.m. Participants lost a small amount of weight, an average of 2 pounds in the time-restricted eating group, and 1.5 pounds in the control group, a difference that was not statistically significant. Yeah, really, I mean, come on, 0.5 pound? You can drink a large cup of water and it's going to be 8 ounces, right? In an interview, Dr. Weiss recalled he could hardly believe the results. He asked the statisticians to analyze the data 4 times until they told him further work wouldn't change the results. I was a devotee, he said. This was a hard thing to accept. That experiment lasted just 12 weeks. Now it looks like even a 1-year study has failed to find a benefit in the time-restricted eating. And they keep calling it that. I keep wanting to say intermittent fasting, but time-restricted eating. Okay. Dr. Christopher Gardner, director of the nutrition studies at the Stanford Prevention Research Center, said he wouldn't be surprised if time-restricted eating nonetheless worked on occasion. Almost every type of diet out there works for some people. That is straight up. Or sometimes, depending on where they are in their life. But the take home, supported by this new research, is that when subjected to a properly designed and conducted study, scientific investigation, it is not any more helpful than simply reducing daily caloric intake for weight loss and health factors. Weight loss experts said time-restricted diets are unlikely to go away. We don't have a clear answer yet about whether the strategy helps people lose weight, said Courtney Peterson, a researcher at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, who studies time-restricted eating. She suspects the diet might benefit people by limiting the number of calories they have an opportunity to consume each day. We just need to do larger studies, Dr. Peterson said. Dr. Louis J. Aron, director of the Comprehensive Weight Control Center at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York, said, in his experience, some people who have trouble with calorie-counting diets do better if they are told simply to eat only during a limited period of time each day. While that approach hasn't been shown to be better, it doesn't appear to be worse than calorie counting, he said. It gives patients more options for success. The hypothesis behind time-restricted eating is that circadian genes that are thought to increase metabolism are turned on during daylight hours, said Dr. Caroline Appian, a co-director of the Center of Weight Management and Wellness at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. The question for researchers, she added, if you overeat a bit during daylight hours, are you more able to burn those calories rather than store them? It's pronounced Opovian. Dr. Opovian said she'd like to see a study that compared a group of subjects who overate all day to a time-restricted eating group of subjects who also overate. She said she would still recommend time-restricted eating to patients, she said, even though we don't have proof. For Dr. Weiss, he said he was persuaded by his own study and said the new data reinforced his conviction that time-restricted eating offers no benefit. I started eating breakfast, he said. My family says I'm a lot nicer. That's cute. Yeah, anyway, I might explore this a little longer. For me, I totally got into the intermittent fasting, and part of the reason that I really did was because I was wearing my Invisalign, and I had to keep them in 20 hours a day, and I just ate in that 4-hour window to try and keep them in all the time. Now, is it coincidence that when I stopped wearing them during the day because I was having an allergic reaction to them, my weight came back on? We're going to have to see, because I'm going to explore this a little further. But it did say that is one problem, is that people who stop intermittent fasting tend to quickly put back on seemingly any weight that they let go during that time. But I think there's, as always, many reasons for that. So many. I know what I've been doing. I know the games that I was playing. I know the different, ways of eating that I was exploring. So I have many reasons for that. But anyway, it's interesting for sure. I'd like to know what you think in the comments below. Like if you like, join us if you haven't. Subscribe, of course, and until we talk again, I'll keep taking care of my hand, keep taking care of free weight, praying for my GBV community, and best of all, know that you're blessed.